Egypt. Thank you very much. So the topic that I will be touching now is a bit tricky, and I think it's something that we need to be aware of because everyone is starting to read papers on artificial intelligence. And if you read a paper or are asked to evaluate some software that you will buy for your department, you need to be aware of the problems with the reproducibility of all those algorithms that are out there. So the idea is that the number of publications on AI is at the moment skyrocketing, and the reasons are mainly that we have the infrastructure, we have the computers, the GPUs to process all these things, but we also have the data to do all the analysis. In addition, we have appropriate models to be used for all those applications, and this is reflected by the rise of new journals, and we know that all the professional societies are starting to launch a new AI journal. The RSNA has the Radiology Artificial Intelligence Journal, we have the BJR AI journal, we have the European Journal of Radiology AI. So all those journals are starting to publish papers on those topics, and we need to be aware of how to evaluate those papers. We have, in fact, a reproducibility crisis if you start looking at those publications. And the problems that we most commonly see have to do with model overfitting, small data sets and analysis that cannot be replicated when you go to real-world data. You have data leakage, you have information from the test set that has also been used in the training set, and that artificially increases the performance of the algorithms. So you basically see fake results at the end of the day. You have training on single-center data, or you lack external validation, external testing of those algorithms, and of course you have different types of bias. And you see that there are several types of bias that are related to the deployment, to the modeling and design, and the data used for those algorithms. I'm not going into detail on all of those types of bias, but as I discussed with the radiomics part, I think that the representation bias is one of the most important, and has also to do with the ways we evaluate algorithms, because different evaluation metrics are more reliable if you have problems with representation. So be careful and know exactly what the population was every time you see a paper on AI. And of course, if you train the algorithms on a different training set compared to the test set, so if the characteristics of the training set compared to the characteristics of the training set are different, when you try to test, you'll actually find different results, because the algorithm will, for the first time, see things that were not in the training set. And this has to do not only with imaging data, but errors in the reports, errors in the labeling, errors that we can see in the segmentation. If you use AI to do segmentation, you may have errors in the final boxes or the final regions of interest, selected. So you need to account for all those errors. To save time from you and to make sure that you follow all the rules and you identify problems that are difficult to identify, there are checklists out there, several checklists that can be used depending on the actual application of the algorithm. These checklists help us standardize not only research reporting, but also how we write a paper, so you can have a guideline on how to construct your introduction, your materials and methods, your results, your discussion section. That increases reproducibility, of course, because if you include all the appropriate information, we know how to reproduce your work, but it also helps reviewers. So if your paper goes out for review and you have followed the appropriate checklist, the reviewer already knows that you have done all you have to do to have a nice model working. So, of course, this enhances study design, and you can use it from the beginning, before you start organizing your study, to make sure that you are going to follow the proper steps in the process. So the use of checklists can be applied in all steps of publishing a paper on AI. And this starts, of course, before submission. So the authors start to fill the checklist and prepare it before they submit the paper. When the paper is submitted, we recommend, and in most of the journals that you saw, we recommend that you submit the checklist together with the paper, completed checklist, and then this goes to the reviewer. And the reviewer takes the completed, pre-filled checklist and checks which of the items are correctly applied and which ones are not, or you claim that you have done and you haven't. And this will go back to the authors, either rejected or for some corrections, minor or major, and you'll have to do what you have to do, again, based on the checklist, and this will go back to the reviewer and then to the editor to decide what's happening with your paper and if it gets accepted or not. So you see that at all steps, having the checklist helps both authors but also the reviewers to make a paper that is of high quality and help the final decision of the editor. You have several guidelines, not only for AI studies, but also for any kind of study that you can design, and not only for radiology as well. And you can find all those guidelines on this website. This is the Equator Network website, where you can see that there are guidelines based on the type of study. And we have compiled guidance for all the people in radiology that want to do AI studies, and we have a series of reporting guidelines and a guide on how to select the appropriate guideline based on your applications. You can find it on Radiology Artificial Intelligence. And what this guide actually says is that based on the purpose of your study, you have to use a different guideline. So if you have a general medical imaging study, you need to use the claimed guidelines. If you're reporting some kind of clinical trial, Consort AI or Spirit AI are the guideline to go for. And of course, if you want to assess the risk of bias and applicability of AI models, you have Probust AI and a series of others checklists that you can use. So I will give you an example discussing about the claim guideline, because I was in the group that developed the new version of the guideline, and this was done to address issues that have to do with AI specifically for medical imaging, because medical imaging has some peculiarities that are different to other types of AI, and we need to be careful when preparing work that has to do with AI for imaging. The first version of the guideline came out in 2020 and has already been used by more than 790 papers published. So you'll see that the trend is increasing, but the trend has stopped because we have launched the new update of the guideline this year. And you see that we've had a collaboration by several centers. You see the distribution across the globe that we had people, experts contributing to the guideline from all across the world. And we had 72 panelists, not only from radiology, because you need to consider that medical imaging also includes other types of imaging. For example, dermatoscopy images, or for example, pathology slices. So we included specialists from all those disciplines that have to do with medical imaging and use AI to help us develop this guideline with a Delphi consensus process that included 2 rounds. And you see that the result is a checklist where you can go, and the update compared to the previous version is that now every time you say that you have done something, you need to indicate the exact page, and you need to say that if you didn't do it, why you didn't do it. So this it poses stricter criteria, but at the same time it allows us and allows the reviewers to evaluate your paper better. This has been published, and you'll see the list of contributors online. Of course, we changed some things like terminology. We replaced the term gold standard or ground truth with the term reference standard, because the panel thinks that this is the most appropriate term to use. Gold standard came back from the ages that banks used to keep gold to account for their power, the power of a country. And we changed the word validation because it has been used in computer science compared to medical imaging in different ways. So we think that the way to go is using internal and external testing to make sure that we define exactly how the model was tested, internally with data from the same center or externally with data from other centers. And of course, we have other things like we don't need to define common data elements like in the previous one. And of course, we need to include the details about the acquisition protocol, because the way the images are acquired is extremely important about the results of the AI algorithm. And you see that you need to indicate page line if you didn't do it, and if it's non-applicable for some reason, you need to also indicate it. But with radiomics, as we discussed, we have a whole different monster. And the problem is that the radiomics is a different type of analysis, and that's why the panel decided to exclude it from the claim guidelines. These peculiarities of radiomics research have to do with segmentation, feature extraction, and feature selection, as we discussed. You don't have these things with other types of AI, so they cannot be covered by a general medical imaging AI guideline. That's why the European Society of Medical Imaging Informatics has launched the CLEAR guidelines, where you have a reporting guideline specifically for radiomics. And once you have your study, you can use what we have developed, and it's called the metrics score, the methodological radiomics score, where you can assess the quality of the study based on a series of criteria, weighted based on the importance of each criterion, and you get a final score giving you the quality of the study, low, medium, high quality study. This can be used by reviewers as well if you review a paper for a journal. And you see that there is an online tool where you can click depending on the different criteria, and at the end of the page you'll get the final score, and you can use it for your reviewing or for your own study, and you can report it in your own study to show that the quality of the study is high. You can also use it, of course, if you want to do a systematic review. So if you do a systematic review and you want to assess the quality of radiomic studies included in your systematic review or meta-analysis, you can use the metric score to do this analysis, and you can see one of those studies that has been published in European Radiology, and this happens more and more over the past months. So how you use it? You complete the form, you add the missing information to your text based on what the form says. You definitely attach the the checklist together with the paper as a supplementary file. And I'm mentioning this because, as you can see in this analysis, people say that they have followed the checklist, but in reality they never follow the checklist, they don't attach it, and even the points that they have said that they have actually done, they have not done them. So you definitely need to attach the checklist so that the reviewer knows and has an idea of what you did, and can evaluate whether this is true or not. Finally, if you don't understand what one of the items of the checklist means, so specifically for radiomics, there is this CLEAR E3 initiative where you can go online. There is a website, and it explains very, very detailed, in a very, very detailed way, what each of the items of the checklist means. And there is, I can tell you that within the next months, we're launching the claim E3 explanation, basically a website where you can find explanations for all items of the claim checklist. Of course, this is for the development study. Once the paper is published, you may have a software out there that applies the algorithm that is described in the paper. And there is this website where you can find all the algorithms that are in the market at the moment, and you can have an idea of what is in the field that you're looking into. You can filter, you see on the bottom left of the website, you can filter based on the modality, on the subspecialty, and you can see if the application has a CE or an FDA approval. And you can see that as of this morning, this is an image of this morning, you can see that we have 219 applications that have to do with AI in radiology out there with either CE or FDA approval. But even for those that are included in the website, and you can find them, and you can find vendors selling them, there is actually extreme lack of evidence. So having a CE mark, it actually says that the algorithm is safe. It's safe to use. Does this actually mean that it gives us the result we want to have? No, it actually doesn't say anything about the performance of the algorithm. It just denotes safety, and there has been a lot of work in showing that the ratio of products that has been validated over time, and this has to do with commercial products, things that you can find from vendors out there, is very, 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 very low. You can see that 64% of the products do not have any peer-reviewed publications backing them up, which is an important problem of reproducibility and deciding how you will spend your money. And of course, for the ones that have a publication, most of them focus on the diagnostic accuracy and they don't show other things like the impact they will have on the final patient outcome or the efficiency in the society level, the therapeutic efficacy of the final product, and a series of other things that need to be considered for an algorithm. And of course, you can see that the evidence lacks for all phases of implementation, and it doesn't only have to do with the development, which is phase 2, as you see on this graph, but especially for the software application and the impact assessment after you deploy the model, there is zero feedback, which means that the model is deployed in clinic, and after that, you lose track. You don't have any idea if the model performs well, or if the algorithm, it gives the result that has promised to give. So post-market surveillance at the moment is a huge problem in industry. And if you want to decide about your project, and this is my final remark, there are the ECLAIR guidelines. And these guidelines give you a list of things that need to be considered. You cannot read the table, but please believe me that if you go back to the paper, you will find very nice guidance on things you have to keep in mind when you decide whether to spend your money for an AI product. And if your product covers what you expect, you can decide to buy it or not. And of course, there are companies at the moment that use this as a promotion for their AI products. This is an example. I'm not affiliated with that company, but I just show you that the company demonstrates how it fulfills all the criteria set by the ECLAIR guidelines. So keep in mind that this ECLAIR guideline can help you decide whether to spend your money or not. Thank you very much.